Maybe some options or something to see Mike run. But at this point, they're comfortable, but they shouldn't be too comfortable, as in to substitute their second string in.
Well, with the score 23-6 at the end of the first half, we're going to send it to break. And when we come back, I'm going to have an interview with a fantastic sports writer, Rich Stambulian. Welcome back to Patriot Stadium, everybody. I'm Dan Cohen, and here with me is a sports writer, Rich Stambulian. Now, Rich, first question I want to ask you is, what's the outlook for the Patriots this season? How's it looking?
I think that looks pretty good. Coach Olson that question, and he usually says, I think we have a chance to be pretty good. He's always cautious about that, never assuming anything. But especially when you lose a lot of kids, a lot of skilled kids, terrific two-way players like Jeremiah Kale, Carlton Marson, Danny DeSico, Mike Giampapa, Mike, 2 years as a quarterback. You're always going to have questions when you lose that many kids that you have to replace. But the strength of this program is they always have kids ready to step in and, fill the gap. So it really depends on how well the younger guys step into those positions on both sides of the ball and do their jobs.
Looking around the NBAL, and with the realignment, we may be looking at the NBAL for the last time. Right. Who do you see as the toughest opponents for the Patriots?
Probably Ramapo, because the general consensus is that they're going to continue their way back to where they were previously. So that game in Week 3 shapes up to be a real tough battle. And you can always count on a tough physical game from Old Japan. I know that the coaches are looking at Old Japan as a team that's, if they slip a little bit, it's not going to be very much. So those two are probably, the two toughest. And then you have Mawa, who gave the Patriots everything they could have asked for and maybe a little more last year. So those three teams probably are going to pose the biggest challenges in the league.
Coming into the season, the biggest story probably on offense probably was the quarterback. Mike Giampapa, a 2-year starter, graduated, and Mike Quinn, a junior, has now stepped in the starting role. How do you think he looked in the first half, and what's the outlook for him this season?
He looked pretty poised. I think in a couple of plays he made a couple of maybe questionable decisions. Didn't quite execute a couple of his throws as well as you'd like to see him to. But it's his first varsity game. Could be a little jitters. Might have a little trouble connecting, with his receivers. I think the things you saw in the first half are things that they'll definitely straighten out, because Mike definitely has the capability. He's got a strong arm. He's big and tall. He runs well. He's got all the skills that you look for in a quarterback.
One more question, Rich. One of the most obvious new features to this team has to be the field turf, replacing the natural grass that they've always used. Can you see any advantages or disadvantages that maybe this turf will apply to the Patriots?
Probably not. It makes it easier for the players as well as the coaches, as Coach Olson said in preseason. He says it just means we don't have to play games in a slop anymore. And the other thing, which I don't think is a real big factor, but might come into play, is when they're playing all their home games on turf, that means they're more acclimated to playing all these other road games in the NBIL on where all those other teams except Fairlawn have turf.
Well, thanks, Rich. That's Rich Stambulian. We really appreciate your time coming up here.
You bet. My pleasure.
Thank you. And when we come back, we have second half football